Hey everybody, my name is Katarina. I'm an Akashic Record reader, a channeler, as well as an energy practitioner, and I'm here to tap into the energy for the summer solstice and offer guidance and messages for the collective. So, the summer solstice, depending on the hemisphere you're in, is either June 20th or June 21st, depending on, again, the time zone too. So, the summer solstice is honored in a lot of different cultures. Pagan and Celtic cultures in particular used the term summer solstice, but honoring the seasons, the changing of the seasons, is very ancient and very old and comes from a lot of indigenous peoples as well as a collective. It honors the shift of energy. The summer in general, I should say, is a lot about the activation of the solar plexus, activation of the throat chakra, because there's a lot of communication happening during the summertime. Often we find ourselves in more engaging activities. We're traveling, we're with friends, we're more out and about because the weather's really nice. But beyond those parameters and those everyday things that we often introduce and invite into the summer solstice, there's a certain honor and sacredness about a change of a season, because we as people, we as souls change and we upgrade and we grow. So, what does that look like in particular? Many of us are going to feel more called to be in spaces where we feel seen. We're going to be more called to speak our truth, to be around people who are receptive to our truth. And if you've been in a period or an era where you felt like you've been in a cave, you've kind of been on your own for a long time, you've been kind of a loner, or you've chosen a path of solitude, of intentional solitude, you will be called to be more in community, because people will teach you so much about life and teach you different perspectives that you can then integrate into your own identity, your own sense of self. So the summer solstice is a lot about reflecting on others' differences and how that plays into your own individuality. The summer solstice is also a time I see a lot of energetic body upgrades. So, what does that look like? If you're waking up, and this is besides the fact that in a lot of places it's very hot, if you're waking up at night sweating, or you feel like you're not sleeping throughout the night, there is a period and a theme where a lot of different collectives above the Galactic Federation, Pleiadians, Arcturians, Lyrans in particular, come in really strong during the summertime, are working with your body in order to upgrade it and in order to shift it to a new timeline that is more conducive to your growth and your overall well being. So there may feel like there's a lot going on, particularly in the solar plexus, and you may even feel some in the throat chakra, because some summer solstice is also asking you to be very mindful of the way that you communicate, the way that you talk about yourself, because your self presentation creates a ripple effect. When you present yourself in a way that disrespects who you are, that puts your own self down, it is going to affect the way people treat you and the kind of relationships you attract. When you are more mindful about being confident, about saying only positive affirmations about yourself, you then transform not only your identity, but the way that people view you, because it all starts within. The only way we can get people to change how they see us is by us changing ourselves. And this goes for also during this time. I sense some of us will be feeling disappointed in relationships because we will feel like there are those we had very high expectations for, And there will be a sense of a letdown because we were hoping they would be some they would play a more positive role in our life, but instead were a lesson. And that lesson, although challenging, can still be positive. I see a lot of reevaluating close relationship in our life. So if there's somebody in your life that you feel like you're being called to change the relationship, the dynamic with, I see not really conversations being had with that person, but more so you doing your own internal work to see, why is this relationship manifesting the way that it is? And how can I take a step back and honor the relationship I have with myself in order to grow and in order to ascend? So there's also a lot of talk regarding the state of the world. So I like to clarify here, when I tap into Akashic Records, I'm opening it up for any being of higher mind and of light to come in and talk to me. So sometimes that looks like a certain galactic being, as we would call them, or certain soul, or certain wise being that sees the outside external picture of the world. So the world separation is an illusion. When we feel separated, for example, when we feel separated from God, when we feel separated from others, when we feel separated from our own selves, it's an illusion because our connection is never severed, was never severed. And we it is possible to love somebody that you have the most differences with. And I'm going to repeat that again. It is possible to love somebody that we have the most differences with. Kuan Yin is really coming in strongly. Kuan Yin, I would say Lilith and Isis and Kali. Kuan Yin and Isis are more of a loving, hardcore forgiveness energy, meaning that we really can't move on from a situation unless we actively forgive somebody. It is one thing to say, I wish them the best, I love them no matter what, and I need my space. But if you are actively feeling hurt, if you are actively feeling betrayed by something that had happened between you and another person, or you and a certain group of people, the only way you're going to feel better is to tap into a vibration of forgiveness, radical forgiveness, because forgiveness is what sets our soul free. And forgiveness is an action, and it is a choice, because of course there's many of us who don't choose to forgive, and we spend so much time giving our energy away, giving our power away to the situation because we're still replaying that. And instead, when we forgive the most heinous acts, we ourselves are able to be in a place that is of higher light and of higher mind. And that makes more of a difference in the world than being hateful, than being unkind, than being and promoting, I should say, and promoting separation. Because when we tell people that we can't love them or we can't tolerate them because they're not like us, it comes back to the way we see ourselves. We can only love others as much as we love ourselves. And that is one of the hardest pills to swallow because we often spend time thinking that other people are the problem when it all starts and ends with us. There's a really good book that said it didn't start with us. It talks about generational trauma, how we inherit things in our DNA. And if you have patterns in your family that you don't necessarily like, instead of demonizing them, instead of saying, well, my family are bad people, or just judging your family for what you inherited, what's going to heal that is you loving them no matter what. And love does not equate to lack of boundaries. Love does not equate to lack of boundaries. So we can still love somebody and be in our power, be rooted in our boundaries, honor our time and our space and our energy. So the state of the world is asking us, are we going to continue to choose hate and separation and feed the illusion, or are we going to tap in to our light, to our love, to our divine forgiveness? Because we are naturally forgiving people, but when we grow up and as we reincarnate as human beings, the duality of hate and love is what teaches us the true power of love. For we do not know love if we do not understand hate. For we do not know light if we do not understand darkness. Because we can be in light all of our lives, and we may not ever truly appreciate it if we never went through a period where it may have been hard. And often that is what God, the Creator, puts us through is not the right word. I would say that is what God and Creator and what we chose for our path in order to understand gratitude. Recently, I was having a conversation with somebody that reminded me that gratitude and anxiety do not coexist. When we are in divine full gratitude and full presence, the anxiety is alleviated. There's a lot of techniques for those who have a lot of anxiety, and a lot of them are all stepping stones to embodying presence. For when we embody presence and we do not worry about the next step, we are able to release the desire to control and the desire to want to know, because the desire to want to know is what leads to anxiety, because we do not know. Or we and when we choose to be free, when we choose freedom, we are able to then free ourselves from the thought processes that are very pervasive in our own anxious thoughts and anxious behaviors. The summer solstice is also about creating time for play, creating time to just be, because as much as we may feel we're more busy during this time or there's more external events happening, there's also a call to create more play, to create time where you have nothing planned and you just spontaneously choose what to do. Because during that time, that is when Source is able to access you and work with you to offer you guidance, to offer you time to really integrate whatever it is that you're currently processing. I also see that in terms of beneficial dietary additions, I see cacao, which is interesting because there's cacao ceremony I myself am hosting at at the shop that my mother and I have. And cacao, I see, is going to be very beneficial during June, August, and July, because it's a very activating ingredient and it gets us more in our heart. And often we have to get more in our heart in order for us to move beyond our ego. And in addition to cacao, I see some adding certain spices like cayenne and turmeric and ginger to your meals would be really beneficial for the flow of one, the adrenal glands, and the flow between the solar and the sacral chakras. Then I also see adding bok choy is coming to me. I see adding certain types of cabbage into your meals, as well as things with probiotics like sauerkraut, kimchi, pickled onions, if I'm not mistaken, kombucha, things that are really good for the gut, even yogurt. If you're somebody who consumes dairy, you could do a non dairy version. I see things working a lot with the stomach and the digestion and adding probiotics, as I said, into your supplement regimen, or being more aware of adding a lot of fiber into your whether supplement regimen or diet overall. And in terms of movement, whatever movement suits you during the summer solstice time, whether you're being asked to do more active movement in order to get the body going, or whether you are asked to do more slower movement. But I see that collectively there's a call to have a little bit faster paced movement in your life, whether that's speed walking or running or weightlifting or cycling, however that looks like. And to kind of end off the messages for the summer solstice, I see a lot of there's certain signs that may be sent to you. For example, if you are seeing a lot of bees, it's an affirmation that you will be rewarded really soon with whatever you're desiring, that life is sweet and we just have to change our perspective in order to truly be grateful for life. I also see if you're seeing, I see like red roses, like if you're seeing a lot of red flowers or particularly red roses, that's a sign that to add more romance into your own life, meaning romanticizing your life, romanticizing yourself, not feeling like romance is an external ideation to receive from another person, but instead something you can give yourself. And see, I also recommend during this time to do early morning trail walking or early morning hiking could be really beneficial and a place where you can get clarity and gain insight about your life. And overall, the summer solstice is just a kickoff to a really exciting season. And although I see us being challenged to grow and to move beyond the ego, because the ego is work we constantly have to do with ourselves, I I see an overall really positive energy about this time and a really joyful, childlike energy about this time. I thank you so much for taking the time to listen to this summer solstice guidance.